Hi everyone, thanks for joining us. Today is part 3 of our 20-part mini-series focusing on features within Microsoft 365. We'll be running them throughout the course of the year, roughly one a week. So check out the schedule at the end of this presentation and feel free to join us for any others that are of interest. Part 3, we're looking at Microsoft To Do, which is Microsoft's personal task management tool, which is aimed at kind of individuals rather than teams, which is where kind of tools like Planner come in. So on to introductions. So my name's Daniel Fowl, specialise in all things Microsoft 365, but focusing on things like productivity, the modern workspace, and the kind of collaboration features within Microsoft 365. I've been working with the Microsoft stack for probably 15 years now, and really enjoy working with companies to help them get the most out of their investment in the platform.
Cheers, Daniel, and hi everyone who's joined. My name's Stephen Port. I work alongside Daniel at Dapt UK. Similar to Daniel, I've been working with Microsoft technologies for around about 15 years. Key focus on all things Microsoft Teams, the Power Platform, and information protection. I'll be running today's session again on Microsoft To Do. We've got some really great stuff to show you. It's one of those apps that kind of sits in the background of the Microsoft 365 suite that not many people actively use. So I think after today's session, it'd be really great to get some feedback to see if it's something that you may start to use going forward. Okay, so let's jump into it. So first off, let's have a quick look at the agenda for today. So we're going to just have a quick overview of why you may want to use Microsoft To Do. We'll then jump into the actual application itself. We're going to be looking at the desktop application today, but it is available on your mobile phone as well. It's also available in the browser too. So similar sorts of features on both versions, but for today we're looking at the desktop application. So again, just looking at some basics around there. We'll then also look at some of the hidden settings within Microsoft To Do. So maybe some features that if you are using it, you haven't necessarily known about, or may be quite useful to you just to know that they're there. We'll also talk sort of very high level about some of the integrations that Microsoft To Do has with the other applications in Microsoft 365. Again, things such as Planner, Microsoft Teams, and Outlook. How does Microsoft To Do work with those applications? And we'll end off just with some of our sort of top tips, so things that we do at Dapt to help ourselves be more productive, manage our tasks, and get our work done essentially. So let's move on into the demo. So I'm just going to launch the Microsoft To Do application here. So again, this is the desktop application, quite big compared to the mobile phone version, but essentially the features are exactly the same. There's not really any additional differences between the two. What we'll notice down here, so again, as with most applications, we've got this sort of left-hand side blade, which is where we can sort of manage our tasks, look at the different lists that we have. If we look at sort of the stuff just down the left hand side, we've got what we call smart lists. So these are lists that are automatically created by Microsoft in the application, and help us organize stuff into sort of logical groups for us to put tasks in and to get things done. So looking at the first one, we've got My Day. So the My Day list is basically something that I can sort of start with, open up. This tells me, things that I may want to get done today. So this is sort of like just a general smart list here. So if I click into that, again, we can see there, I've got a couple of things that I may want to get done, maybe whether that's today or not. I can also do some other things like change the background colors, all of that sort of great stuff that we would want to do. Next one down, we've also got important. So these are tasks that I've sort of starred essentially. So this is things that I've said, this is a really important task and I want to make sure that it's on that important list. So if I need to go into the sort of that view and to say, what do I really need to complete for today or, for this week, I can jump into there and get that done. I've also got a planned smart view. So this is any task where I've assigned essentially a date to it as well. So again, add in any task, I've got the option just to add the task as a standard task, or I can put a sort of a date or a due date into there as well. So again, really useful for me to have that view. I've also got my all task view. So my all task view allows me to group all of my tasks by those specific smart lists as well, plus my own custom lists. So very easy to sort of expand those. and to jot them down, so I can quite quickly see what I've got on, and it sort of keeps it tidy for me as well. But I get that sort of holistic view of all tasks within Microsoft To Do. I've also got some other smart lists, so things such as completed, pretty self-explanatory there. I've also got tasks that are assigned to me, so this may be where we're having tasks coming in from Planner that get assigned to me in Planner. They will show up here. Again, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Or individual tasks that I've created where I've specifically assigned that to myself. Or again, as we're going to look at later, if Daniel, for example, has his own Microsoft To Do task list, he can actually assign tasks to me from that as well. So we can actually share task lists as well. One that you may see here again is the flagged email. So flagged email, this is again sort of touching lightly on the integration bit that we're going to cover later, but it shows any emails that I flagged in Microsoft Outlook. So it's a really good way of going through those important emails. Maybe you get something from a customer in and you want to make sure it goes into your Microsoft To Do. I can flag that and that will automatically show up here for me. So a really great way to do that. And then lastly, I've got my sort of standard task list as well. So this is where I can basically put in, standard tasks. Then there's no organization around here really in terms of the smart thing. This is just my generic list that I've got available for me. So I can put it all in there. Okay, so that's generally those smart lists covered off. One of the things that we'll notice further down as well is I've got some other sort of lists here, so groupings and like custom lists. So again, I can click on a new list here. I can just give this list a new name. So this could be, for example, webinar. That's just created a new list for me where I can start adding in tasks. So I may want to add in a task, and in there, I just click on the bottom to add a new task. I'm just going to call this task 1 for now. As I start typing, what you'll notice is I have a few things within here that I can set. So one of them is adding a due date. So again, we've sort of mentioned that this will add it to the planned smart list as well. So I can choose today, tomorrow, next week, or pick a specific date. I can also set reminders as well. So it gives me some options within there, but I can also pick a specific date and time. What will actually happen with this when I do select a reminder is that will come up as you've probably seen in your Outlook when you get sort of all those notifications saying dismiss. That will actually put a notification in there for you as well. So it will again pop up for you as a notification. I can also make this a recurring task if I wanted to as well. So I can choose to repeat this, and I can say how often do I want to repeat that. So it might be, remember to buy Dan a birthday card for his birthday, and I might set that to yearly, and that's a task that I can put in there. So I can use it for some personal stuff as well as business stuff within here. So if I jump back to the one that I created earlier, you can see here that I've got review my tasks within Microsoft To Do. It's an important one, and I've also set this as a recurring item. So one of the best practices, what I like to kind of do is at the start of my day is just to review the tasks that I have in my day, or that have been assigned to me, just to make sure I start my day focused and I really understand what I want to achieve for that day as well. One of the things I may want to do when I'm within here, if I'm not looking to create a new list or a new task, is I can actually also use suggested tasks. So if I click onto the little light bulb in the top right corner when I'm on the My Day list, what we'll see down here on the right hand side is suggestions. So this will be things such as tasks I may want to add to my day from other lists that have been assigned to me, flagged emails, so on and so forth. So quite easy to do. All I have to do is go to add to my day, and I just click on these little plus icons, and that will then just add those tasks to my day. And this is the view that I like to work on most of the time. It just gives me that focused look of tasks within Microsoft To Do. Okay, so we've shown some creating of tasks, very straightforward, pretty easy to do. Some of the other stuff that I may wish to do as well. So if I jump back to this webinar, I can also rename at any point. And one of the other nice things I actually quite like to do is to create add the little icons on alongside my list name. It just gives a bit of fun to my Microsoft To Do as well. So I can just add a little airplane to that. And you can see down here, if I expand some of these, I've got a few different options there as well. So I can see I've got getting on board tips, some checklist icons, getting my profile ready, the webinar. It just keeps it quite nice there for me. One of the other things that we have on this left hand side as well is the option to group tasks. So if I click on create a new group, what I'll actually have there is again just started as an untitled group, but I can then move my lists into that untitled group if I want to. So I can just drag that into there, and that list is now within that group. So you can look at here for the onboarding. I've got a couple of lists within here. So onboarding tips, get my onboard to-do list, and get my onboard profile. So these are all lists that I've now grouped together into one view. And again, as I'm starting to create more lists as I go through my day and my working sort of life and patterns, I can just keep that organized with some nice grouping down the left-hand side. So a really good way to sort of stay focused and on point. Some of the other stuff that we have as well. So if I just click onto the top thing, top area up here where my name is, you can also see I've got something called settings. So if I jump into that, we'll just have a look at some of these hidden settings behind the scenes. So as a general, what we always have is making sure the things that we can do, such as making sure all new tasks are on top, making sure that star tasks on top, all of that sort of stuff, notifications that we'd want to do. I can also decide on what my app badge looks like. So my app badge is for my Microsoft To Do desktop client. It will give me a counter on the number of items that I have. So I can basically say, what should I show? What's that counter going to look like? So I may want to show added to my day and not completed, or I may decide what's due today or what's overdue as well. I can also pin this application to my taskbar, so it makes it sticky on my desktop. I can do other things as well, such as look at keyboard shortcuts, pen settings, all of that sort of great stuff that I need to. Again, I can decide which smart list I would like to have. So here we've got all of those sort of smart lists that we talked about earlier. But if I wanted to, I could also maybe hide any smart lists that are empty. So for example, if I've got no completed tasks, I may not want to show that on the left-hand side, and I can actually get that hidden automatically until I complete some tasks there. We've also got things such as connected apps. So this is where I talked about earlier about the integration possibilities. So making sure these are turned on really gives that extra bit of functionality in Microsoft To Do that I may not normally have. So Planner, for example, if I'm working on a project with Daniel, for example, and he's assigning me tasks within Planner, I can actually get these to show up within my Microsoft To Do in the Assign To Me section. So really useful from that point. And as again we touched on earlier, the flagged emails. So I can actually look at the flagged emails and make sure that anything I'm flagging, as I'm getting customer queries coming in, questions from other members in my team, if they're important, or things that I need to action and complete, I can actually flag those and make sure they're added automatically into Microsoft To Do as well. And again, we've got things such as notifications. So I can look at shared list activity and reminders there as well. So again, how do we get there? If I just go back, I just literally click onto my name up there and go to settings, and then that's the settings area where I can get to. Okay, so some of the other stuff that you may notice when we went into there was about sharing a list. So Microsoft To Do, generally I would say, is sort of your personal area to get things done, but you may want to create a shared list. Now, this can be quite useful if you're not wanting, for example, in Planner, to have all of the Microsoft 365 group functionality created alongside when you create a Planner. Microsoft To Do can do some nice stuff for you there as well. So you can see here we've got Jack's onboarding, and against there we can see we've got two sort of people there, which means it's shared, and also the number of people it's shared with. So I can click onto Jack's onboarding list, and then up here as well I've got the little share icon. If I click onto that, I'll be given a sharing link, and I can copy that link and share it to people as I need to. I can also invite via email if I want to, and I can remove people from this list as and when I want to. If I click on manage access, once I've shared that out and I've got everyone into that list that I need to do the task management with, I can actually lock that list down to make sure it's only accessible to current members. So this is a quite nice way of locking that down to just those specific people. I can also stop sharing as well, and if I click on that, that will just remove those people from that list. But again, as mentioned, it's a really nice way to create task lists without having to use Planner and have all of that Microsoft 365 group functionality created at the same time, which is a bit of a bugbear for some organizations. Okay, so some of the other stuff we can do while we're in here, I may want to, for example, change the theme behind here. So I can click on the little ellipsis in the top right. I can rename that list. I can also move that list to a different group should I want to. I can also sort the list, all the tasks in that list by importance due date, so I can actually change that around. I can also change the theme, so I might want to add a picture of a beach within there if I wanted to. But some of the other stuff that I have in here as well is print this list. So if I click onto that, what we'll see is that I actually can show a printed version of that list. And again, it will show me any tasks that are completed, flagged, who they're assigned to, and that gives me the option to print that off as and when I need to. I've also got the option to email that list as well. So if I just click on email that list, what that will do is I just drag this across. 2 seconds. There we go. So that will actually create an email with all of the tasks within that list as well. And again, whether things are completed or not, that will show there, whether they're important and their due date as well. So I can actually then email that out to say Jack, and I can say, Jack, here's your list of what's going on today, or to Jack's manager and say, Jack still has these outstanding items to complete. And it's just a really quick way for me to be able to do that. As you notice down here as well, because this is now a shared list, it's giving me some extra functionality in the tasks option as well. So when I click into the task here, I can actually type @Daniel, and that will now assign that task to Daniel automatically as I'm creating that task. So I don't have to sort of create a task and then assign it. I can use that app functionality and carry that all the way through into Microsoft To Do in shared list options. So I can say in here something like, we'll just call it lorem ipsum for now. I can again set all of that sort of stuff like due dates, set reminders, all of that sort of great stuff. But just to add that in, I can just click on there. You can see up there it's added Daniel Fowl as the assignee on that task. So again, a really great way for me to use some of that stuff there. Okay, so we've looked at sort of Microsoft To Do as a sort of generic app. We've looked at probably some of the features that you may not have known about, such as sharing, using the app mentions and some of the hidden settings behind the scenes. Some of the other stuff that we have, again, as mentioned, is integration options. So what can we do with Microsoft To Do from an integration point of view? So the first thing I'm going to show you actually is in Outlook. So this is just my generic Outlook on the web client, but it also works for Outlook on desktop. One of the things you may have seen is something called Insights. Now, earlier today, I sent Daniel an email saying, hi, Daniel, I'll make sure I send you the document ahead of tomorrow's meeting. When I go into Insights, it notices that I haven't picked that up as a task for me to do. So it actually says, would you like to add this to Microsoft To Do? I can say, yeah, it's already done, or it's not a task. But if I click on Add to Do, what that will do is actually make that a task within Microsoft To Do. So I can click straight away show and to do if I want to, but I'll jump back to here and go to tasks. And then you can see up there that I make sure I send you that document ahead of tomorrow's meeting. So from Microsoft Outlook, I can actually add tasks directly into my Microsoft To Do as and when I need to with all of those reminders. It's using that AI, that smart intelligence to do that for me. So it's a really great way of, building up those task lists from Outlook as well. Planner is something that we've kind of talked about. We probably don't need to go into that too much. If I jump into Microsoft Teams, so this is somewhere where everyone's going to work. I can see here that on Tuesday, Daniel sent me something saying, hi Steve, don't forget to complete your return to work form by the end of the week. So maybe I've been off ill. I want to make sure I add a task into my Microsoft To Do to make sure I remind myself to do that. What I can do is I can actually click or hover over the conversation. I can click on the ellipsis here, and if I go to more actions, you can see I've got create a task. If I click on create task, what that is actually going to do, it's going to say, where would you like to create that task? And I can decide where I'd like to do that. Again, you can see all of my lists with those icons, so it gives me that familiarity straight away. I may want to create a task for my personal stuff, which could have a picture of myself there, for example, or just in the generic task one. I can assign priorities to that as well. I can set my due dates. And you can see there the notes of that task. It's giving me the option to link directly back to that Microsoft Teams conversation. So I can just add that as a task. And again, that's going to go straight into my Microsoft To Do. And you can see up there, that's in there. If I click into that, you can see I've got the link to Microsoft Teams. Now, one of the things I may want to do within here is, once I'm in the task, is add some steps in as well. So I might add some steps in to say, complete the form, email it to Dan, and then review return to work form with HR. So I can actually, as part of a task, add several steps in there as well to make sure that I'm completing all of these steps before I complete that task. So as I click on each one of those, you can see that marks those off individually without actually marking the task off as complete. So it allows me to complete sub steps within that task as well. But when I'm ready to complete that, I just click on complete that task, and that will show me that that's now completed as well. So again, a really great way for me to manage tasks from Outlook as well, from the insights using that intelligence, but also from Microsoft Teams, whether that's in individual chat sessions, or as an example, if we're in a meeting and we're creating actions in the chat, in the meeting chat, I can actually go to that meeting chat quite easily. If I just jump back across, And if we were in a meeting, for example, within here, I can take any one of these items where the conversations have happened and create a task from those action points from the meeting, as an example. So again, it's a really great way for me to be able to create actions for myself, or if we're looking at shared lists, assign actions to other people as well. So a really great piece of kit that we have there. Okay, so that's a sort of a quick overview of Microsoft To Do, but I think we've sort of kind of dived into quite a few maybe different areas of the application that have been quite exciting. So let's have a look at some of the top tips that we use at Dapt just to help keep our day organized to get work done effectively. So one of the first things is just to create good habits, really. Like I say, at the start of my day, one of the first things I'll do, whether it's on my mobile phone when I'm making a coffee in the morning, or when I come up to my desk to sit down, is I'll just look at Microsoft To Do and just make sure I add any tasks on. It's a great way as I start getting busier throughout the day, just to have those reminders pop up to say, don't forget to complete this. Only takes about 5 minutes to do, and again, it's really useful. Number 2 is consider using shared lists within Microsoft To Do. Again, as I mentioned, it's a really great way to avoid creating lots of Microsoft 365 groups when you're trying to create shared tasks in Planner, for example. So there is the functionality in Microsoft To do that, and it's something that lots of people say, we don't want to have to create a new Planner plan and create a new Microsoft 365 group at the same time. So Microsoft To Do, in a similar way to OneDrive for Business, the personal area compared to SharePoint, it actually gives you that functionality as well. Another one, group your related lists. So think about creating groups for those lists just to organize and tidy up the content within Microsoft To Do. Add the pictures to those groups and to the task list as well to make sure that it's really recognizable. It's a really good way to do that. Lastly as well, I can also create tasks from Teams. So if you're having conversations, just click on those icons and you can do that there as well. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed the sort of quick webinar today. I'll hand back over to Daniel, who's just going to go through a bit of a wrap up. But I hope that's given some insights into Microsoft To Do, and you found today's session useful.
Yeah, thanks for that, Steve. It's a really cool tool, actually. I think it often gets overlooked, so good to spread the word. So thanks to everyone who joined us today. Hope that was a useful session and you've got some tips you can take away and share with the rest of your colleagues. As always, we're really keen to get some feedback on our sessions so we can constantly improve them. There's a QR code on the screen. Feel free to scan that. That should take you off to a Microsoft form where you can fill in your review. And we'll enter anyone who's filled in that form at the end of the series. We'll be entering you into a prize draw, so it's definitely worth doing. And we welcome any feedback, good, bad, or constructive. So next up, session 4 out of our 20-part series is all about Microsoft Forms. So Microsoft Forms is a really cool way of kind of collecting information from your users internally and externally. We'll be showing you some tips and tricks on how to get the most out of this feature, and we think it's a really kind of easy way to start automating some business processes within your organization, so definitely worth checking that one out. We've also got a good amount of sessions remaining. We'll be running them weekly. I won't go through all of them here, but you can see we cover quite a few apps. Some you'll be very familiar with, like Yammer and SharePoint, but there's maybe one or two in here that you probably won't have heard of before. So things like Microsoft Bookings or Kaizala, Sway, things that are kind of often overlooked, but we think there's some really cool features in there that you've already paid for them, so you might as well learn how to use them and get the most out of your investment in Microsoft 365. So with that, I'd just like to say thanks for joining us. Hope we see you on the next session. We'll be running them weekly over the next couple of months, so check them out, and thank you for joining us.